Hello, Pauper fans. This is Mathonical, and you're joining me for round 5 of the Pauper Challenge, where we are playing Rally Gaunt. Our opening hand, unfortunately, only has green sources, so we're not able to keep this one. We're going to send it back. We are against 420 Dragons, so it's a very reasonable chance that he is on the usual Esper familiar list. This hand does have winning chances, but is not great. We would rather go infinite to have a chance of winning this one. But we will keep it since we do have basically winning chances with the Battle Screech Rally plan, and the Midnight Guard has the possibility of going infinite if we get lucky. Soul's Attendant does give us something to do in the earlier turns, but that's not going to really give us winning chances. Against slower players who are playing Flicker style decks, it can give us wins just because it gains us enough life as they're comboing, and then eventually they run out of time, but that's not likely against 420. He's extremely fast. Turns out we're extremely lucky today and are able to just top deck the Presence of God and go infinite. This doesn't mean we win the game on the spot, since he is sometimes able to go infinite by the next turn, especially since he has some of his combo pieces with a familiar and a bounce land. So we're just going to make enough guys that will give us enough life to, if he starts going off, he won't be able to beat us through attacks. And that if he is not able to find any reasonable answer, that we will just win. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip through this, because I believe I gain quite a lot of life just to prevent anything. Gain up to 80, and we'll continue through. He's going to start digging. He's looking for a way of essentially going infinite this turn if he can. Since he's trying to bounce our Midnight Guard, I'm just going to gain a bit more life, just to try and make it so that way he wouldn't be able to win with if he attacked every single turn for the rest of the game and would deck himself. Of course, he does have other ways of winning, but after he drew a couple more cards, he ended up conceding since he didn't have any ways of stalling out, stopping us from attacking, or going infinite. So, to save his clock, he just conceded there, and we're going to jump into game 2. Sideboard plan against this deck. We're going to bring in our Pyroblasts. We want some way of interaction with what he's got going on. Relic Progenitus to try and get rid of some of those recursion effects with the flickers and whatnot. Prismatic Strands are obviously terrible since damage isn't relevant here, so we take those out. We also bring in some number of the Journeys and an Oblivion Ring, simply because that is able to take out some of his familiars and stops slowing down entire turns. So those are reasonable. I do take out one Rally, simply because he's got snaps and creatures to get in the way, so the chances of that winning in time is not likely. We basically want to go infinite before he does, and hope is good enough. We also take out one Battle Screech, just because it's not going to, once again, we're not trying to go wide, and the life gain isn't going to be as relevant. If we get just one creature online when we go infinite, that'll be usually good enough for the infinite life plan. So we're just going to run it back like that with some interaction. Our opening hand has a bit of interaction to deal with their early creatures. Relic is one of the interaction pieces that can try and stop them from going infinite, and we have part of our combo, so we go ahead and keep this. He does mulligan down to 4 cards, which you may think is really good, but he does scry to an Aqueduct on top, which basically means he's now got 3 mana and his deck is online. If he's able to start getting Muldrifters and whatnot down, then he's going to be able to start drawing quite a few cards. So this is by no means a one match for us. He does play the Familiar, and we want to stop that. We don't want him to be able to play a turn 3 Muldrifter, which he could have been able to do. He does still get down an Oracle, and we're just going to get down a Relic to start exiling things, and hope to draw infinite combo for next turn with Midnight Guard online. We have an Oblivion Ring to get rid of any problematic creatures that might be in our way. We're not too worried about the Oracles. We now have protection effects in case we do draw our infinite combo. But he is very easily getting out of his mulligan, since now he's drawn 4 additional cards. So he's got very real winning chances at this point, since our only piece of interaction is a Relic Progenitus, and we're not presenting any kind of clock yet. Unfortunately, we're not drawing too well, and we're looking for some way of closing out this game. He's now up to 7 cards in hand with Familiar again. It's not looking great. I go ahead and Oblivion Ring here because I want him to Ghostly Flicker. That basically means we can get our Presence of God online without him having a lot of mana open. So now that that's been done, I go ahead and play the Presence of God, which is going to give us reasonable winning chances. Of course, he does have a ton of cards, a Flicker in the yard. We do have 1 mana open for our 1 Relic, which has the chance of doing something for us. But we're basically just hoping that he doesn't play a one of the stone guys that would prevent us from attacking, because that would start buying him a lot of turn from this point, even though we have a ton of life and a lot of attackers. So once again, since I have the infinite life combo, I'm going to spend a bunch of my time just to gain enough life that even if he attacks for every turn for the rest of the game, that would not win it for him. This basically forces him into needing to go infinite and find an alternative way of winning through decking me, which would eat up a lot more time than it's using me to go through this combo. So I'm just going to skip ahead of going through the combo. As you can see, I did this for a good 2 to 3 minutes. So now I've basically put him to the question, do you have the ability to stop me from attacking? Or can you go infinite this turn? He's evoking a Mole Drifter, which is good for us. But snap, things are starting to look pretty scary, because now he's going to be able to draw a lot more cards. Going to be able to start getting a lot more mana. The chances of us getting to attack next turn are looking very slim. Or possibly not getting next turn at all, but he continues to dig, so there's still small hope for us. The Demonic Wall, trying to get back the Ghostly Flicker. I don't want him to have that, so I go ahead and trip the Relic at that point. We've also gotten rid of 3 snaps, which is very beneficial for us, because basically he now needs to get an additional snap to really start going off. And he's starting to get fairly down on cards. He ends up finding an additional Flicker, unfortunate for us, and he does find the Stonehorn. So we're not attacking next turn. Pyroblast means we now have an additional piece of interaction, which is good. We are basically looking to stop a Flicker that is probably going to target the Stonehorn at some point. There was the option of getting rid of the wall, but I decided I would rather get rid of the Flicker on the replay, since that would reduce his mana. When he replays the Flicker to draw cards and put the Mnemonic Wall, I decided to not use it then. Right here, I realize I probably should have Pyroblasted the Pirate, since that is one of the combo pieces, but I wasn't sure if I should counter the Pirates or the Flicker when he went to cast it again next. So, in hindsight, I believe I should counter the Pirates. He would then be able to start flickering, and the thing I was more afraid of is him being able to flicker and stop me from attacking for every turn for the rest of the game. So I went with the line that had a reasonable chance of winning by countering the Flicker, but it turns out he did have another Mnemonic Wall to get back the Flicker anyways. So at this point he is able to go infinite since he's found his last snap as well. So at this point I've basically F6'd since I have no more interaction, and I'm just trying to click through my triggers that are going on the stack as fast as possible, simply because he is using more time than I'm using, so the clock is to my advantage, even though I'm currently 5 minutes down. I'm going to try and speed things up by passing to the end of turn, because this is going to go on for a while. Feel free to watch the legendary 420 Dragon in action as he goes through who knows how many hundreds or even thousands of clicks in a very short amount of time to try and deck us before he runs out of time. Will he make it? Find out later this episode. He is continuing to go infinite. We're continuing to gain a ton of life, so he's completely conceded the idea of being able to attack us. since he's down to 16 cards, so he is looking for the alternative win con of the compulsive research on me to deck me through 40 cards. May look like it's a fairly impossible task, given 13 minutes that is falling rapidly, but never underestimate the speed of 420 Dragon. He's recently started posting some videos on how to play this deck and pilot it, so if you were interested in being able to go more infinite than Rally Gond, feel free to check out his tutorial on this. During this, I kind of wished we had more red sources available. Unfortunately, we never had the opportunity to, since he's making us draw a lot of cards through the compulsive researches. These Pyroblasts would have been a very nice way of being able to get rid of his flickers as he was casting them. Also, we did take out the Fairy Macabres from the sideboard. Those also would have been a very good way of instant speed, being able to interact with no mana open. So just keep in mind, if you would like to side cards specifically for this style of matchup or Tron, you can always put the Fairy Macabres back in if you would like to try and have slightly better winning chances. Although, generally, you aren't going to draw your entire deck. They're going to try and bounce all of your creatures and win through damage. But I basically prevented that from being out for him this time. As you can see, the time is now getting very close to even, so while it may have looked ridiculous that I made all these creatures, I knew that for him to win this game, he would still have to spend more time than I did over the course of the game. So, while I've been rambling on, he's been continuing to infinite combo off. He's been making infinite mana. Basically, he's able to flicker 2 creatures with the flicker to get back 2 spells, or flicker a wall and a pirates to go infinite mana. Since he's got the 2 multiple familiars, it just costs 1 mana. He generates 2, so he's able to go infinite mana, infinite card draw, infinite making me draw cards. But of course, since there's so many interlocking parts and he has to do so many different parts of the combo, it does take a very long time, and you have to put all the triggers on the stack. So if triggers are the kind of thing you like, his deck is the way to go. I still prefer Rally Gone personally, because I've tried to play a version of Familiars once in the past, and as much as I like putting things on the stack in very particular orders to try and win the game, it is something else to try and sequence everything perfect for Familiar. So while it may have looked like we had the upper hand with this many creatures and all this life, never underestimate the Familiar deck and 420 Dragon playing it. So we do lose game 2. Crazy. I would love to see a play-by-play analysis from the 420 Dragon perspective. It would probably take longer than this entire set of matches alone. Anyway, after that a very amusing defeat, we're going to jump into game 3 here. I don't believe I made any changes to the sideboard since these are still unreasonable. Actually, I think I did bring in the other 2 Oblivion Rings, just a little bit more interaction. I took even more of the Battle Screeches out, just because once he starts comboing with some of those familiars online, it's just not good for us. So we take a look at our opening hand. It's not great, but it is okay. We have all of our mana colors, and we do have Standard Bearer, Midnight Guard, Sense Enlistment, so it's fine. We really are hoping to draw a Presence of God or some way, one of our communes to find it. Standard Bearer basically turns off Snap, sort of. Usually they're going to snap their own creatures to get extra value. And we go ahead and get our Midnight Guard online. If we do draw the infinite combo, that would be a way of winning. Not so lucky this time, we don't draw it on the 3rd turn. Can't draw it every single time. We're holding the Oblivion Ring for one of his familiars or something to that effect. Getting a Pyroblast is nice, it means we have some sort of interaction. And because of that, we do want to hold it up. Now that he's played a Nightscape Familiar and a Sunscape Familiar, we want to start getting rid of those effects. We don't want his spells to be too free. So we go ahead and get rid of one of those. Playing the Sense Enlistment wouldn't really get us ahead on board. It's not going to get us anywhere at this point. He's going to continue to draw cards on the cheap and he does have a Ghostly Flicker. We're going to get rid of that just because that's going to prevent 3 cards from being drawn and a Muldrifter for him to get in for damage. We are trying to either win through infinite combo or to get him down on the clock, and anything that would slow him down is pretty reasonable here. So we're going to play a bunch of our creatures, and unfortunately we're fairly land heavy. It doesn't mean we get a lot of Ascent Enlistment, but that is not our most likely way of winning. It might have been reasonable to try and keep in 2 Rally the Peasants, just to try and get some crazy wins in through Alpha Strikes. That might be something to consider in the future. But now he does have his combo online with Ghostly Flicker and Mnemonic Wall. We're going to get rid of the Mnemonic Wall, hoping that he doesn't have some way of bouncing it to hopefully slow him down on some of those shenanigans. He now has the Pirates, so if he finds another Mnemonic Wall, we're in very bad trouble, and he already has it. So he's able to put together his combo. One of the benefits of playing Familiars over Midnight Guard is you do have a lot of looks at cards through all of the card draw and searching effects, preordain and whatnot, which we don't have access to, but it is a much more complicated deck to play. So it's got its trade-offs. I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead. Basically, it's up to him to choose whatever way of winning that he wants. He decides to go with the Denrova Horror and bounce all of our things plan, which is the way he wants to go. We weren't able to get our Infinite Life online fast enough, so he's going for the faster version of winning, of beat us down. We did get him down to 2 minutes, but since this guy plays so fast, it wasn't quite enough. We're just going to keep playing it out because why not? He is down to 2 minutes. Anything could happen. But you and I both know this game is gone. Unfortunate. We are now, what are we, 3-2? That does mean the chances of us getting into the top 8 are very unlikely, but not impossible. Sometimes you can always make it in on breakers. So feel free to join me for round 6. Maybe our luck will turn around and we'll start winning again. Let's find out.